blessed people. My story plays out well. I'm alive, I'm here, and I'm myself after 2 brain surgeries. My journey began in July. My journey began in July of 2016. Perhaps it began 25 years before, but that July we knew our world was forever changed. You see, I suffered from migraines for decades, so I was no stranger to pain. For the most part, I could keep them at bay with daily meds.
Is it higher?
Higher?
On the microphone. Yeah.
And watching what I ate, drank, and my sleeping patterns. Yet I still got 2 to 3 migraines on a good week. Remember, I was no stranger to pain. But my story really begins back on February 2nd, 1991, when I got a phone call in Houston, Texas, that my mom had suffered a brain aneurysm and was going to have emergency surgery. After 2 brain surgeries, she did make a full recovery. She was going to be my role model for how to be a strong woman and recover from brain surgery. I just didn't know it yet. This is the reason that my amazing neurologist taught me that with any change to my normal migraine pattern and intensity, I should go to the ED. Well, I don't like to complain, and I'm busy like all of you. So when my migraine meds couldn't get the pain under control, and the pain was constant for a full 3 weeks, I decided that it was time to make the trip to the hospital. The doctors did the typical round of drugs to combat the pain. In fact, they hit me with the cocktail of drugs 2 or 3 times and still could not fully break the pain. I was frustrated and just wanted to leave. The meds had taken enough of the edge off of the pain that I hoped that I could go home and just sleep it off. The next week, I followed up with my neurologist, a round of steroids, and an MRI that I was sure would be clear. They always were. My husband Blaine came to the Tuesday follow-up with me. I remember walking up the stairs to her office thinking, why is he with me? He never comes. It's a waste of his time. Little did I know it would be a God thing that he was there, and also that it would be the first appointment of many for the next few years that he would come with me. She would have called if it had been bad, I said to him as we were waiting in the room. In she walks and says, I tried to call you last Friday, but I didn't want to leave a message. You have the best of the worst. It's a vestibular schwannoma. My heart sank to my stomach. As she delivered the news to me, she had the tissues at the ready, and she embraced me with a genuine hug. Now, the interesting thing here is that I knew exactly what that meant. I'd recently taken an anatomy class. So I decided to zone out. I began thinking about how I'd teach Blaine about what Schwann cells were, because he certainly had no idea what she was talking about. And yes, what was she talking about? I had this lofty plan and goal to go back to college, and this certainly wasn't part of it. Maybe I'll just be sick. Where's the trash can? What is she talking about? Can we just leave? Oh, they're talking about going to another doctor. Blaine will remember all of this, right? Now to tell my kids. I was going to be an open book, no secrets. I'd seen that tear families apart. The next few days were a blur. I know I am beyond fortunate, though. I do remember going to cry in my pastor's office and praying with him. I have a deep faith that I would rely on throughout this journey to carry me through. When my husband Blaine is stressed and worried, he flies into action, researching for the best doctors and clinics. We sent my scans all over the country. Within a week, we were seen by the head of the neurosurgery at Mayo Clinic. His demeanor was calm, but I was still feeling frenzied and worried. Blaine found a local support group for me, and after my initial freak out, I did realize that the watch and wait was the best course of action for me. I wanted the tumor out, but it was small and might not grow. and nobody really wants to have their head cut open. I was able to live my life in relative peace for the next 2.5 years. I had regular MRIs and still had the migraines on a regular basis, but I was pretty much keeping them in check. I met with a nutritionist and was eating clean, and this seemed to help my overall health too. I was going to nursing school and volunteering at the hospital. Things were good until the pain began to come back. I knew in April of 2018 that the tumor was growing. My pain was getting worse, and I was giving myself Toradol shots on a frequent basis to help with the pain. An MRI confirmed what I was suspecting, and on September 25th, 2018, with my husband, son, and daughter by my side, I walked into Barrows. I had the tumor taken out by the translabyrinth approach by a talented team. My surgeons actually had me decide which approach I wanted to use. This was overwhelming, to say the least. I was deciding how someone was going to cut my head open. It was an awful decision. In the end, I chose this approach and to sacrifice the hearing on my left side so that they had the best chance of getting all of the tumor. I wanted to make sure that they got it and I never had to have brain surgery again. This approach also cut my vestibular nerve. I'm not sure how I can properly describe this to you. The best I can do is to have you imagine that little whiteboard in the hospital room. Now, each time you open your eyes for the first 2 days after surgery, what you see is that whiteboard spinning faster than the teacups at Disney. First one direction and then the next. I'll leave it to your imagination what your body will do. This lasts for the first 48 hours until your other vestibular side takes over and you're relieved. And yes, I was wearing a scopolamine patch, and no amount of Zofran or anything else would help. I remember also telling my husband before the surgery the importance of getting me walking afterwards. I so regretted giving him that much information. I was out of the bed and walking, if only from the bed to the wall on that very first day. Thank goodness for my family. They gave me what I needed when I needed it most, when I wanted none of it. They pushed me gently and lovingly when I couldn't help myself. Soon I was down the hall, then up the stairs. At one point, Caitlin even schooled the staff as to how to unlock the only shower area in the ICU. I was the only patient they knew of that was determined enough to be out of the bed and showering. I was lucky to have a med student in the family because the doctors took extra time to let her see all of the scans and sort of use each visit as a teaching point. They explained things to her that I wasn't able to comprehend at the time because of my recovery. The surgery left me with some pretty severe complications. I had a clot and a brain bleed, causing a slight shift to the right. My word retrieval was slow. This was beyond frustrating for me. I felt as though everyone was scared that I was brain damaged. I remember watching the Today Show and thinking, wow, they have so many words misspelled. Then I realized it was me. Something was wrong with me. I'm so much smarter than this. I have a master's. I'm in nursing school. Have I lost all that I've worked for? I would try to have a conversation and simple words wouldn't come from me. I can still remember how hard I worked to retrieve some of those words. Crane, apron, smashed burger were just a few of those words. And I was scared I wouldn't recover. Then about 3 days later, I saw my face. I was mortified. I had some rather severe facial paralysis from the surgery. It looked like I'd suffered a stroke, and I had an eye that would not close without someone taping it. The neurosurgeon came and told me it would come back, but it may take up to a year. A therapist said 3 months, and I clung to her words. It took me a week to be discharged from the ICU, and then recovery began from home, going to vestibular and facial therapy. Friends and family would come and stay when my husband couldn't be home. As much as I enjoyed the company, I also felt like an invalid, and I worked hard to gain my independence. Then, nearly 8 weeks later, my daughter Caitlin was home and checked my incision. She wasn't sure what she was looking at, but she knew it didn't look right. Off to Barrows we headed. The incision had come open. What Caitlin was seeing was the plate they used to cover my skull. I thought they would clean me up and stitch me up. I cried when they told me I was going to be admitted for another surgery. Going in, they didn't even really know how they were going to fix it. I just needed to trust them. Another week in the hospital and having to start recovery again. This time was my darkest. This surgery really took me down. I was left with some physical deformities that I wasn't sure would ever go away. I cried for days. My facial palsy was still there. Eating was messy. I couldn't open up my jaw very wide because they fixed my incision with part of my temporalis muscle, taking all of the hardware out from the first surgery. I was still having to have someone put drops in my eyes many times during the day to keep it from drying out. And my left ear stuck out so far that I painfully joked that I could host a small party behind there. My scalp had upwards of 100 staples and sutures, and this left me with a couple of permanent bald spots. I was exhausted, and I was terribly sad that I would not be returning to nursing school in January because I didn't have the physical strength. I wasn't feeling very good about my situation or myself. I was scared to be home because I lived in fear that the incision would come open again. I still have issues relaxing at night to sleep. I had a primary care doctor that was caring and sweet, looked me in the eye and offered me help by way of antidepressants, telling me that all of what I was feeling was normal for what I'd been through. Her kindness and knowing that help was just a call away was a comfort. In the end, I had a well-deserved pity party, crying for a few days, and then I got back on with my recovery. I still work very hard each day to spell words on the computer, to regain my stamina, and to make the left side of my face look like the right side. Many of the physical issues have corrected themselves. For the most part, you might not be able to tell unless I laugh hard, and then I'm too happy to care that you see my crooked face. I have a little saying on the door as I leave my house. It's there to remind me of my strength. It says, never be ashamed of a scar. It simply means that you were stronger than whatever tried to hurt you. In the end, I am the most blessed person. You see, if that incision had not come open, they wouldn't have gone back in there to see that the fat graft that they'd used in the first surgery had become necrotic. It was just a matter of time before it was going to become a bone or a brain infection. What I didn't want most, a second brain surgery, is what was perfectly timed to save my life. Today I'm back in school for my BSN online, and I'm working towards returning to my clinicals in August. So to the med students here tonight, I want to say that when you become practicing doctors, please listen to your patients. Surround yourself with amazing support staff and amazing nurses. They will lift you up and your patients too. Be patient with your patients who may need a moment to retrieve that word. Look them in the eye and take that extra moment to ask if they have another question. We all know your time is precious, but as patients, we want to feel precious to you. To the caregivers, thank you. I had an amazing team of caregivers, from my doctors to the professional team at Barrows to my friends and family. I can't imagine walking this path without any one of them. I had friends bring food and flowers and take me for pedicures. When I felt so deformed, my friend Maggie was the first one to hold my hand and tell me that I was beautiful. Some other people were uncomfortable to look me in the eye. I'll never forget her kindness. So if you don't know what to do, and many times there are no words for the struggles, hold your loved one's hands, look at them and listen to them. They'll feel your love, and isn't that what we all need more of? To the survivors, this certainly isn't the hand that we ever wanted. It It stinks to say the least. But this journey will either make or break you. Please use your story to keep yourself strong and help other people, because we do find each other. And there are so many of us, far too many of us. Throughout this journey, I've met the most amazing people. I've made some lifelong friends. It's not a path that I would have chosen or wished for, but I choose to see the silver lining in the friendships that I've made and the relationships that have grown stronger because of it. To those that have lost someone that they love, my heart breaks for you. Let's keep working together to find hope, find treatments and cures so that we can put an end to all of this suffering. Thank you for listening to my story.